No one knew that the mountain beneath their feet was not meant to exist, buried by the hands of ancient immortals, erased from the annals of history. Kunwu had long been spoken of only in hushed legend, an immortal mountain said to have vanished into the spirit realm or sunk into the abyss of the underworld. Yet now, beneath 7 pillars of light that tore through the heavens, its silence was breaking. The seal was stirring, and those who had unknowingly stepped upon its forgotten soil were about to awaken something the ancient cultivators had feared enough to imprison for eternity. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. 2 muffled detonations echoed across the air. 100 meters from the stone pavilion, light flared violently, and a mass of roiling purple mist materialized from nothingness. From within it erupted a furious savage howl. 2 more earth-shaking roars followed. The mist was torn apart, as if shredded by unseen claws, revealing a monstrous bird with 4 vast wings and the head of a lion. Its wingspan stretched a full 20 meters, blotting out the sky above, while coils of crackling violet radiance wound around its body like living serpents exuding a tyrannical, suffocating aura. A lion hawk, the eccentric, cried out in shock, his voice sharp with alarm the instant he recognized the creature. The scholar's expression darkened. Without hesitation, he flicked his sleeve, releasing a red-black saber that burst forth in a streak of vicious light, cleaving through the air toward the beast with lethal intent. An uncanny scene unfolded. The feral monster, so domineering only moments before, revealed a flicker of fear upon seeing the saber. Its massive jaws snapped open, and from its throat it spat ring after ring of condensed purple radiance, each one humming with destructive force as they hurtled toward the incoming blade. Explosions detonated in rapid succession. Black and violet light interwove violently in the sky. The flying saber carved through more than a dozen rings with relentless ferocity, shattering them one after another. Yet with every ring destroyed, its brilliance dimmed slightly, its murderous aura weakening. By the time the saber finally reached the lion hawk, its radiance had greatly faded. The remaining rings of purple light managed to halt it by sheer force. The beast's eyes gleamed with savage delight. Sensing opportunity, it prepared to unleash further techniques to seize the weakened weapon. But in that very instant, the scholar spat out a mouthful of blood essence. His hands blurred through a complex incantation, fingers weaving seals with practiced precision before he thrust them forward. The blood essence instantly condensed into crimson talismanic characters mid-air, glowing with an eerie brilliance before dissolving into nothingness. At the same time, the red-black saber erupted with identical crimson sigils. Its aura surged explosively, devouring the remaining rings of light in a single breath as it lunged toward the demon beast, poised to cleave it in 2. Alarmed, the lion hawk screeched and beat its massive wings violently, its colossal form shooting backward. One claw rose defensively, intercepting the descending blade. Green blood sprayed across the heavens. The saber was halted for a heartbeat, but it had already carved halfway through the monstrous talon. Enraged beyond measure, the demon beast threw back its massive head and unleashed a roar that seemed to shake the firmament itself. The sound was so overwhelming it left both men momentarily dazed, as though heaven and earth had trembled in unison. Then an astonishing sight unfolded. From the lion's gaping maw spread translucent golden ripples, waves of radiant force that rolled outward like divine sound made visible. They surged toward the saber, striking it with the force of a collapsing mountain. The blade was blasted away, tumbling wildly through the air. The eccentric immediately joined the fray, unleashing streak after streak of yellow swordlight in an attempt to steady and reinforce the saber. Yet the golden ripples were too overwhelming. Though they gradually weakened as they spread, their force was undeniable. After releasing that terrifying sonic technique, the lion hawk's aura noticeably waned. It fixed the scholar with a vicious, resentful glare. With a thunderous boom of wings, its body blurred, dissolving into a massive explosion of crackling lightning. In the next instant, it reappeared 100 meters away. But even then, it did not dare linger. Transforming into a streak of violet radiance, it shot toward the distant horizon and vanished from sight in the blink of an eye. The eccentric exhaled slowly, tension leaving his shoulders. He turned to the scholar whose complexion had turned pale as paper. "Young Third, are you well?" he asked with concern. Controlling the black blood saber already consumes tremendous magical power. Yet you even burned blood essence to forcefully amplify its might. The scholar gave a faint sigh and shook his head. "I am unharmed. I merely sacrificed a portion of vitality." The lionhawk was a famed predator of antiquity. Its divine abilities likely surpass even late nascent soul cultivators such as ourselves. Had we not driven it away, matters would have grown dire indeed. Now that we have wounded it, it should not lightly trouble us again. The eccentric nodded relief flickering across his features. As an ancient spirit bird, its physique is undoubtedly formidable. Without our clan's black blood saber injuring, it would have been nearly impossible. The scholar offered a faint smile before shifting his gaze downward to the green mist below. The Ye clan cultivators had been thrown into panic by the creature's arrival, but they had since regained their composure. Satisfied, he exchanged a few quiet words with the eccentric before descending toward the stone pavilion to recover his strength. Beneath a towering mountain near Myriad Poison Valley, 5 figures clad in flowing white stood in a single row, their silhouettes ghost-like in the dim light. Before them, 2 black-robed cultivators knelt respectfully delivering their report. "A phenomenon in the heavens, you say?" A mysterious voice echoed from no discernible direction, drifting through the air like silk, yet carrying undeniable authority. "Yes, Grand Elder," one of the black-robed cultivators replied with a deep bow. 7 pillars of light have pierced the sky near a nameless lake in Puyun Prefecture. When did this occur? Have you determined its cause? The unseen speaker's tone sharpened with interest. "It began 4 days ago," the cultivator answered carefully. "One of our disciples obtained the intelligence and immediately reported it. The pillars appear to rise from above an enormous seal. Its scale is too vast for us to determine its exact center. Many sects throughout Nanjiang have been alarmed and dispatched nascent soul cultivators to investigate." 7 pillars of light. The voice fell contemplative. "It is said that ruptured ancient restrictions may leak spiritual radiance." "How intriguing. I shall go personally." A pause followed, then the voice turned cold as winter steel. "You also reported that Elder Fu of the 9 Serenities sect was sighted nearby, yet there is now no trace of him. Were you mistaken? If you cannot even track this man, how do you expect to locate that fellow named Han?" The 2 black-robed cultivators stiffened in fear. Cold sweat beaded on their brows. "Grand Elder, please quell your anger," one hurriedly explained. "We truly confirmed that Elder Wei was heading in this direction. However, he vanished upon nearing Myriad Poison Valley. There are indeed traces of cultivator movement," the voice said slowly. "Yet I have swept every region of the valley save the Yin-Yang cave. I am certain no one remains within. Do not tell me he entered the Yin-Yang cave. If he had, I would have known. Unless that old fox intends to spend the rest of his days buried beneath it." The 2 black-robed figures exchanged helpless glances, words failing them. At last the voice spoke again. "Very well. It was no small task to uncover this place. I shall grant you more time. Continue surveying the valley. I will make a journey to Puyun Prefecture myself. Inform Elders Wu and Xiao that they will accompany me. Strength in numbers will serve us well." "Yes, Grand Elder." Relief flooded their hearts as they bowed deeply. Moments later, the 5 white silhouettes ascended into the heavens. Their forms merged into one radiant streak before tearing across the sky. Meanwhile, a group of cultivators crossed into Puyun Prefecture, advancing toward the small lake. There were over 20 in total, clad in blue robes and crimson headscarves. 4 at the forefront were nascent soul cultivators. Among them, a middle-aged man bearing jade-green lines etched across his face stood at the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. A chilling aura emanated from him, sharp and merciless as glacial wind. An elderly cultivator at the early nascent soul stage spoke anxiously, "Senior Marshal Brother Hua, are we truly deploying such overwhelming force? We have brought the majority of our disciples. Should calamity strike, our sect's strength will suffer gravely." The middle-aged man's gaze remained steady. If a supreme treasure descends, resistance will be minimal. But if this is truly the legendary Kunwu mountain, his voice lowered, then we must seize this chance, no matter the risk. Kunwu mountain, another grey-haired elder exclaimed. The sacred mountain our founder sought all his life. The jade markings on the man's face shimmered faintly. Indeed, I revealed this to you when you first reached the nascent soul stage. In antiquity, Kunwu mountain was among the most illustrious spiritual mountains of the mortal realm. For reasons unknown, ancient cultivators sealed it away with unimaginable power. Yet its hidden treasures are said to be beyond counting. He paused before continuing. Our founder was descended from one of those ancient cultivators who participated in sealing it. He was certain the mountain lay somewhere within Nanjiang, but he lacked precise knowledge. I suspect he established our sect here solely to uncover its whereabouts. Alas, he never succeeded. This secret has been preserved through successive generations of sect elders. A thick-browed elder frowned thoughtfully. Then why are you certain the pillars of light herald Kunwu Mountain's return? The middle-aged man chuckled softly. Our founder left behind a spirit-detecting pearl once possessed by his ancestor. It was crafted specifically to sense the flying immortal stone atop Kunwu Mountain. Now that the mountain stirs, the pearl has responded. Several days ago, it began ringing incessantly within the founder's hall. Even without the heavenly pillars, I would have mobilized our forces. So that is the reason. The three elders exchanged glances, their eyes shining with dawning excitement. The grey-haired elder sighed. It is a pity Senior Marshal Brother Yuan is absent. With him present, this venture would be far safer. Junior Marshal Brother Yuan departed on secret business, Hua replied gravely. We do not know his whereabouts, nor can we contact him. I have instructed the remaining disciples to send him to us immediately upon his return. His expression hardened. For now, we must enter the mountain first and claim as many treasures as possible. Moreover, we do not yet know whether the seal fractured naturally or by human hands. If the latter is true, his voice trailed off heavy with implication. We must proceed with utmost caution. The cultivators of the sacred poison sect could not possibly have known that their junior marshal brother Yuan had already fallen slain silently beneath the claws of the silver-winged night fiend, his fate swallowed by darkness. After a brief exchange of words, they quickened their pace, urging their disciples onward without pause. The sooner they arrived, the better. Above a small, unremarkable lake in Puyun province, the heavens had grown crowded. Several hundred cultivators had already gathered, their robes of countless colors weaving through the sky like restless birds. The 7 pillars of light rose from the earth and pierced the firmament, radiant and unwavering, as though connecting the mortal realm to some hidden celestial domain. Many cultivators hovered high above, circling the luminous columns with wary fascination. A handful skilled in earth escape techniques vanished into the soil in flickers of yellow light. From time to time, they would resurface, faces flushed with excitement, whispering urgently to companions who waited above. It was clear by now they had discovered the enormous seal buried deep beneath the ground. Yet the hidden opening that the Ye clan had forcefully torn open remained undiscovered. Even so, excitement spread like wildfire. Voice transmission talismans streaked across the sky in flashes of light, bearing urgent messages to distant clans and sects. Some cultivators abandoned all caution, flying through the night without rest to deliver reports in person. At present, most of those gathered were Foundation establishment cultivators, with only a scattering of chi condensation and core formation practitioners among them. Many were wandering cultivators who had stumbled upon the phenomenon by chance and rushed over in curiosity. Others were scouts dispatched by established powers, tasked with investigating the disturbance. Not a single nascent soul cultivator had yet arrived. This was hardly surprising. The small lake lay within a desolate region, barren and devoid of noteworthy resources. No great clan or sect held territory nearby. There had been no reason for a nascent soul expert to linger in such a forsaken place. Even the sacred poison sect, having mobilized immediately upon receiving news, remained 2 days' journey away. However, once word spread that a colossal underground seal had been found, the more experienced wandering cultivators began to retreat reluctantly but wisely. They understood all too well what would follow. A seal of such magnitude could conceal unimaginable treasures, but it would also draw the attention of high-grade cultivators. When those beings clashed, the heavens would split and mountains would crumble. Low-level cultivators caught in the aftermath would be reduced to ash without even knowing how they died. Profit was tempting. Survival was wiser, yet not all possessed such restraint. Many younger cultivators, spirited, ambitious, and aflame with dreams of destiny, refused to depart. They yearned to see what lay beneath the seal. Some even dared to nurture a fragile hope. What if fortune favored them? What if amidst the chaos a single opportunity presented itself? Their cultivation might be low, but heaven occasionally favored the bold. It was a gamble, and they were willing to stake their lives upon it. Thus, beneath the 7 pillars of light, all manner of figures gathered, each harboring their own ambitions, fears, and secret designs. Deep within a cavern at the heart of a towering mountain, Han Li and Bai Yaoyi sat cross-legged in still silence, their gazes fixed upon Old Man Fu, or rather upon the golden cauldron suspended before him. The cauldron, nearly a meter tall, floated a few inches above the ground, revolving slowly. Its surface shimmered with intricate engravings that glowed faintly in the dim cavern light. Old Man Fu exhaled thin strands of emerald nascent flame, each thread winding around the cauldron like living silk. His hands moved through complex, unfamiliar seals, occasionally striking the vessel with precise bursts of spiritual force. With every impact, more of the green flame surrounding the cauldron transformed into iridescent rainbow light, dazzling and otherworldly. A dense medicinal fragrance had already begun to seep into the air, rich, pure, and intoxicating. The old man's expression grew solemn. His gestures quickened, growing increasingly fervent. This was the critical juncture. Han Li watched with composed features, though a quiet tension coiled deep within his heart. Over the past several days, Old Man Fu had cast the Umbra Yin horse and numerous other rare materials into the cauldron. There would be no second attempt. Some of those ingredients were treasures that might never be found again. Though Old Man Fu had spoken confidently of success, Han Li could not entirely suppress his unease. Beside him, Bai Yaoyi fared no better. Her luminous eyes burned with expectation, her breath faintly quickened. Then, the cauldron abruptly stilled. A low hum resonated from within, deep and resonant, as though echoing from some ancient hall. The medicinal aroma thickened, nearly tangible. Old Man Fu's eyes flashed. His hands ceased their movements. With a flip of his wrist, he produced a vermilion gourd no taller than 5 inches. With his other hand, he flicked a speck of white light toward the cauldron's lid. The lid trembled violently, then slid aside. The humming ceased. 5 fist-sized orbs of white radiance burst forth, each enclosing at its center a thumb-sized emerald pill that gleamed with crystalline brilliance. The pills glowed like condensed jade, vibrant and alive. The 5 luminous spheres circled once above the cauldron before shooting outward in different directions. But Old Man Fu had long been prepared. He shook the vermilion gourd, releasing a swirling red mist. In a flash, the 5 orbs were drawn inward, vanishing into the vessel. The old man exhaled deeply, a smile finally breaking across his face. Success. Bai Yaoyi sprang to her feet, unable to contain her joy. Brother Fu, you have my deepest gratitude. I did not expect 5 pills could truly be refined. I feared the number might fall short. A faint rosy hue colored her cheeks, enhancing her already radiant beauty. When I gathered the materials, there was enough for 5, perhaps 6, Old Man Fu replied calmly. Why else would I invite 5 fellow Taoists to assist? It is only a pity," his smile faded, "that my junior martial sister and fellow Taoist Yuan did not survive." A shadow passed over his face. Though death was commonplace among cultivators, grief did not vanish so easily. Even the triumph of successful refinement could not fully dispel that lingering sorrow. Bai Yaoyi's expression softened. She too sighed quietly. Han Lai remained silent, his face unreadable. Moments later, old man Fu composed himself. "Fellow Taoist Bai, do you possess a wood-attributed container? These pills must not be stored in ordinary vessels, or their potency will gradually dissipate. Furthermore, one must undergo at least half a year of secluded meditation before consumption. Otherwise, the medicinal effects will be diminished." "Of course," Bai Yaoyi replied with a gentle smile, "and naturally, I would never rashly consume something so precious." With a flick of her wrist, she produced a delicate yellow wooden box. Old man Fu nodded. He tapped the gourd, releasing a swirl of red mist that carried one orb of white light toward her. She caught it gracefully and placed it within the wooden case. After carefully examining the pill and sensing its astonishing spiritual fluctuations, her eyes shone with undisguised delight. She sealed the box and thanked him repeatedly. Old man Fu then retrieved a green wooden box of his own and extracted a pill in similar fashion, storing it away. After a brief pause and a few dry chuckles, he suddenly tossed the vermilion gourd toward Han Li. Han Li caught it, instinctively, surprise flickering across his features. He frowned slightly. "Fellow Taoist, I only requested 2 nascent cultivating pills." Old man Fu's expression turned solemn. "I am not an excessively greedy man. It was through both fortune and your strength that I escaped death and successfully refined these pills. Now that my junior martial sister has fallen, I have need of only 1. If Brother Han does not object, the remaining 3 shall be yours." Han Li lowered his gaze to the gourd, then looked up at the old man. A faint smile curved his lips. He could roughly discern the old man's intent. Now that the pills were complete, his own value had diminished. Elder Fu likely feared that Han Li might harbor malicious intent. By surrendering an additional pill, he displayed goodwill and simultaneously reduced Han Li's incentive to eliminate him. It was a careful, prudent move. Han Li, of course, had never planned such treachery. Still, refusing now would only breed misunderstanding. In that case, Han Li said calmly, "I will accept with gratitude." A flash of light and the gourd vanished into his sleeve. Old man Fu chuckled, visibly relaxing. "No need for modesty, Brother Han. It is well deserved." Bai Yaoyi, perceptive as ever, understood the unspoken exchange and merely smiled. The tension that had lingered between them quietly dissipated. Now that the pills are complete, old man Fu suggested we should seek an exit. "Let us investigate near the base of the mountain. There may be a passage." No sooner had he spoken, the entire cavern trembled faintly. A muffled rumbling rolled through the mountain, deep and unending, as though something vast stirred within the earth itself. The 3 exchanged uneasy glances. Bai Yaoyi bit her lip. "Are there others within this mountain?" Perhaps old man Fu replied grimly. "Or perhaps it is the silver-winged night fiend." A trace of resentment surfaced in his eyes, the memory of his junior martial sister's death still raw. After a brief silence, Han Li spoke evenly. "Whatever the cause, we must proceed cautiously. With our combined strength, there is little we need fear." With a sweep of his sleeve, azure mist poured forth. The radiant haze swept across the cavern, dissolving every restriction and formation in its path. Flags and formation plates lifted into the air and disappeared back into Han Li's sleeve in an instant. "Let us depart. We will speak further once outside." Azure light enveloped his body as he shot toward the exit in a streak of brilliance. Old man Fu and Bai Yaoyi exchanged a final glance before following closely behind, not daring to lag even a heartbeat. When old man Fu and Bai Yaoyi emerged from the long winding passageway, they found Han Li already suspended high in the air. He hovered motionless robes, stirring faintly in the mountain wind. His gaze fixed upon the crest of the valley wall, the source of the distant rumbling. By now the noise had grown faint. Were it not for their profound cultivation, they might not have detected it at all. Old Man Fu listened carefully, his brows knitting together. The sound originates from that direction, and it's moving farther away. If not for the spatial restrictions sealing this region, the echoes would never have carried so clearly. Han Li turned, his expression composed. In that case, we should investigate. We are unfamiliar with this terrain. Better to observe first than stumble blindly into danger. But we must conceal ourselves. Let us not be discovered before we discover others. Neither raised an objection. Old Man Fu formed an incantation seal. A soft green glow blossomed around his body before dimming rapidly, his figure fading into a translucent green shadow, nearly indistinguishable from the surrounding foliage. Bai Yaoyi lifted a slender finger. A crystalline medallion shimmered into existence in her palm, radiant and pure. As she murmured a spell, silver mist flowed from its surface, enveloping her graceful form before vanishing in a faint shimmer. In the next instant she was gone. The mountain's pervasive restrictions greatly suppressed their spiritual sense. Under such conditions, concealment was far more effective. Outside this place, however, such techniques would scarcely deceive cultivators of equal realm. Seeing the two vanish, Han Li smiled faintly. Without forming any visible seals, his body flickered with subtle azure light. In the span of a breath, his aura dissolved entirely as though he had never existed. Old Man Fu and Bai Yaoyi stood mere paces away, yet could not sense him in the slightest. Their hearts tightened with quiet alarm. Han Li casually affixed a concealment talisman to himself. His figure turned translucent, merging seamlessly with the air. Let's move. At his soft command, the three rose into the sky. Within this mysterious realm, they did not dare to fly swiftly. Instead, they advanced at a pace akin to body lightning techniques, steady, restrained, vigilant. Below them, verdant forests stretched endlessly, suffused with dense spiritual qi that lingered in the air like morning dew. Every valley, every ridge seemed a natural paradise for cultivation. If this mountain were ever revealed to the outside world, countless sects would wage bloody war to claim it. An hour passed. They encountered nothing. Not a single bird call. Not a single beast's trace. No spiritual herbs. No wandering spirits. The silence was suffocating. Rather than relief, unease weighed upon their hearts. Bai Yaoyi finally broke the stillness, her voice hesitant. Brother Han, do you feel it? The spiritual qi here is astonishingly rich, yet we have not seen a single spiritual plant, only ordinary vegetation. Han Li nodded calmly. I have noticed. The deeper we go, the denser the spiritual qi becomes. It resembles the structure of spiritual mountains outside. I suspect the ancient cultivators concentrated their plantations nearer the summit to maximize absorption. It becomes denser still. Bai Yaoyi's eyes widened. The current concentration already surpassed most sacred lands she had known. Old Man Fu's heart stirred. Brother Han, if the peak truly holds such abundance, perhaps we need not rush to leave. Cultivating here for a time, would that not greatly benefit us? Han Li let out a quiet wry chuckle. Brother Fu cannot truly regard this as an ordinary spiritual mountain. If it was safe to cultivate here, why would the ancient cultivators abandon it? And the grand restriction enveloping this mountain there is something profoundly unnatural about it. If I discover a path out, I will not remain. Old Man Fu hesitated before smiling ruefully. Your words are reasonable. My excitement clouded my judgment. Bai Yaoyi sighed softly. I shared the same thought. Cultivating here could save years of hardship. Han Li was about to respond when his expression abruptly changed. He stopped mid-air. Azure light flickered within his pupils as he turned sharply toward the distance. Startled, the other two followed his gaze. Far away, white mist coiled lazily through the air. Throughout the mountain, fog often drifted between peaks. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Han Li narrowed his eyes. Let's have a look. There may be something of use. Without waiting further, he altered course and headed toward the mist. Though puzzled, the others followed. They had long learned that Han Li did nothing without reason. The moment they entered the fog, they halted as if struck by lightning. Within the white shroud lay a vast expanse of stone steps, pure white ancient, stretching endlessly both upward and downward along the mountain's spine. They seemed to pierce heaven above and descend into the abyss below. Beside the steps stood a colossal white stone stele, 30 meters tall and 10 meters wide, towering with solemn majesty. Han Li descended slowly, hands clasped behind his back, studying it in silence. Old Man Fu landed nearby, curiosity etched across his face. "Brother Han, have you discovered something?" Han Li's expression was grave. "I finally understand where we are." Fellow Taoists look. Their spirits stirred. They stepped closer. At the very top of the stele, 2 ancient golden characters were inscribed with elegant commanding strokes. Kunwu. Old Man Fu's face drained of color. Kunwu. Could this truly be the legendary Kunwu mountain? Bai Yaoyi covered her mouth, eyes wide with disbelief. Indeed, she breathed. In antiquity, Kunwu Mountain was revered as the immortal mountain, a sacred convergence where ancient cultivators gathered. Its size and spiritual abundance matched the legends. Yet history claims it was either transported to the spirit realm or sunk into the netherworld. How could it remain here? Old Man Fu's eyes gleamed with renewed vigor. Legend and truth often diverge. It seems the mountain was sealed, perhaps for reasons unknown. By fortune's hand, we activated an ancient teleportation formation and were delivered here. His voice grew excited. With its fame, there must be countless ancient cultivator dwellings scattered across this mountain. Even discovering 1 or 2 would yield immeasurable rewards. Han Li shook his head slightly and stepped forward. His fingers brushed lightly against the stele's surface. Perhaps. But if the mountain was sealed deliberately, its inhabitants would have prepared before departing. I doubt much was left behind. He paused. However, this stele itself may be a rare treasure. Though crudely refined, it has stood here for countless years, absorbing unimaginable spiritual qi without decay. What? Old Man Fu and Bai Yaoyi exchanged startled looks, scrutinizing the stele anew. At first glance, it appeared no different from common stone. Though faint spiritual fluctuations lingered upon it, they were insufficient even for forging low-grade magic tools. They looked back at Han Li, expressions tinged with doubt. He smiled faintly. "You are unconvinced. Yet I am certain." In truth, even he was perplexed. When he had approached the stele, the armored earth dragon, resting quietly within his spirit beast pouch, had suddenly erupted into violent agitation. It cried out incessantly, its instincts screaming that this object was extraordinary. Yet even with his bright sight spirit eyes, Han Li perceived nothing unusual. Still, he never allowed opportunity to slip by. As if to prove his claim, azure light bloomed across his palm as he pressed it against the stele. The immense stone trembled. Light gathered and compressed as its massive form began to shrink under his power. When it had reduced to half its original size, Han Li's brows rose slightly. With a sweep of his sleeve, he prepared to lift it into his storage pouch. The stele rose a single foot above the ground, and suddenly changed. A deep hum resonated from within. Blinding white light burst forth, radiant and pure. At the same time, Han Li felt an overwhelming weight crash down upon him. His spiritual control vanished entirely. With a thunderous boom, the stele slammed back into its original position, sending tremors rippling through the earth. The violent shock left their ears ringing. Then, a faint cracking sound. Fine fractures began spreading slowly upward from the base of the stele. Han Li's eyes narrowed. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.